I'm very pleased to have with us Charles Fadel, who is the founder of the Center for Curriculum Redesign in Boston, US. And it's great to have you with us, Charles, and thank you ever so much for agreeing to speak at our conference at the end of June. I just thought we'd have a little bit of a chat, a couple of questions for you. So would you like to tell us a bit about your background and perhaps what you're doing now?
Well, certainly. I studied electrical engineering and physics, but over my career, I transitioned from technology to education policy. And about a decade ago, when I left Cisco, I started this center to redefine the what of education, not just the how. In other words, the what has been lagging quite a bit because what's on the docket that we teach kids is still very, not very relevant at times.
Yeah, great. Now I understand Boston is quite a center for education, is that right?
Well, yes, it concentrates about 75 universities and colleges and 250,000 students. So I dubbed it the Silicon Valley of education.
Oh, that's quite amazing, isn't it? It must be a really interesting place to be and quite exciting.
It's a giant college town.
Wow. Well, that's very interesting. Thank you for that. So what decided you to be a keynote speaker at our conference?
Well, your organization is, of course, doing really interesting work, but furthermore, assessments matter enormously to me, because unless we fix assessments, we're not going to fix the rest of the behavior. In essence, assessments are the scorecard. And in the corporate world, as in any human endeavor, the scorecard drives the behavior. So if we keep the same scorecards, we're not going to change education in any significant way. Hence my intensity here about assessments.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And I think that's such an important thing, isn't it? I always like the quote that Peter Drucker made, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And I think that's sort of a touchstone, isn't it, of educational assessment and progress. So yeah, great. Thank you very much for that. So what aspect of assessment is interesting you the most at the moment?
By far, assessments that are formative in nature, number one, and number two is centered on what we call competencies. So skills and character and meta learning. In other words, how we use our knowledge, our higher order thinking skills, how we behave and engage in the world, our character, and how we reflect and adapt and learn how to learn, our meta learning.
Brilliant. Yeah. And I met you first when we were on a call with Eric Shepherd, who's doing some work on the IEEE competencies framework, which I think is a very interesting area of work as well, isn't it?
Indeed.
So I also understand that you are quite a published author. Is there anything that you're working on at the moment, or a particular book that you'd like to just draw to our attention?
Well, it started 15 years ago with a book called 21st Century Skills, which has become a moniker used worldwide. But we've gone way beyond that. We released 4-dimensional education that allowed us to talk about character and meta learning and knowledge, which was not in the first book. And that book is available for free if anyone wants to download it.
Oh, right.
But we're about to publish a new version called 4-dimensional education in depth. And there we go into the progress we've made over the past decades, including formative assessments. So there'll be a lot more coming out by fall.
So when is that being published, did you say?
Sometime in fall. I don't have the exact
okay.
month, but we're shooting for September.
Okay. Well, we'll have to look out for that. Thank you. Yeah, brilliant. And just lastly then, why do you think professionals in the sector should join us for our international conference and awards?
Well, I would assume that any professional would want to stay at the tip of the arrow, right? You guys are doing a lot in terms of thought leadership and exploring the next generation of assessments, and particularly setting up the mindset about the next generation of assessments. So it only makes sense for me to address and discuss with thought leaders, because that's where we're all going, and we need to lead by example.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you ever so much. And that's a great sort of promotion for us, and your support in this is greatly appreciated. And just so that our our viewers, our potential attendees know, you're going to be speaking to us on the 29th of June between 3 and 5 p.m. BST when the conference is taking place. The awards being presented are Best Research and Lifetime Contribution, and that's being sponsored by two of our sponsor organizations, NCFE and Prometric. So we look forward to seeing you, Charles, at the conference, and we look forward to seeing everybody who's watching, joining us. I think it's going to be a fascinating keynote that you're going to give us, and I look forward to it very much.
Thank you. I do too.